So I put about 12 hours into the first day of the Gray Zone Warfare playtest. Let's break down all of my thoughts, the good and the bad. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So first of all, let's be really clear that this is not a complete review of the game. That is impossible to do for a game like this with 10 or 12 hours into the game. I know we don't like making comparisons to Tarkov, but think about a Tarkov wipe. It's the game that I've played the most. If you were brand new to Tarkov, 10 hours into a Tarkov wipe, there is so much you still don't know about the game. You don't know who the bosses are or where they spawn. You don't know where the maps or the spawn points or the PvP points are. You don't know where the good loot is or what even is the good loot. You don't know about the armor system or how many different ammos are in the game. There's so much you still don't know just 10 hours into a game. Additionally, think about the motivations of a player at the beginning of a wipe or the middle or the end of a wipe. A lot of people try to avoid PvP in the beginning, but they kind of run around just throwing their body at PvP towards the end of a wipe. In the beginning of a wipe, people are just trying to survive, make money, do some quests, but at the end of the wipe, they're trying to spend all that money on gear and once again, just kind of run around and not care nearly as much. And in that same vein, my big question I have for Gray Zone Warfare is how does it feel to progress through a wipe? Does it get better or does it get boring? I still have to upgrade the traders and explore the map more, find out where the PvP hotspots are and where the dope loot is. And all that stuff could provide tons of hours of fun, or it could get stale really quickly. I'm not sure if the game gets more fun with meta loadouts or if it gets repetitive and then doesn't really offer up any incentive to play. Also, it's important to note that what you want out of this game will definitely determine if you like what you see. If you've ever called DayZ a running simulator, you probably won't like this. The map is big and traversing it takes time and there's a lot of empty space. This is not about adrenaline-fueled non-stop PvP and dropping 8 player kills. But on the flip side, if you like PvP being slower paced and happening a little bit less frequently, but being more intense as a result, if you like rolling around and stopping AI and looting, then you probably will really enjoy this experience. Now, a lot of people still don't quite understand how the PvP works in this game yet, so the TLDR is this. There are 3 factions on the map. They all have a safe house, which is like your stash and your hideout on different areas of the map. And then each faction has a town right outside its kind of safe house where a lot of the questing gets done. And it is out in the persistent world, but for the most part, you're just going to run into your same faction there. Each faction has 16 players, so a total of 48 on the map, but you are really not incentivized to PvP with your faction. There's a karma system in the game that we don't currently really understand, but just know the game doesn't want you killing people in your faction. So that leaves about 32 players left on the map to PvP if you want to. Like we said, those little towns right outside the safe houses are going to be primarily the faction that's closest to it. But as you can see on the map, there are plenty of places around and in between all of these factions where there's good loot, much higher end AI, and that is where a lot of the PvP is going to happen. The keys that I've found are to a lot of these kind of like middle of the road towns or villages or airfields and stuff like that. And so that is going to be the draw. So if you just want to stay in the town closest to your faction and just work on quests, you could probably go 8, 10, 12 hours without seeing an enemy PMC to PvP. But if you don't do any of that and just immediately take some gear and sprint towards some of these higher tier loot locations, you'll probably be PvPing all day long. So once again, it's kind of hard to grasp. There's only 32 players to PvP. That might mean that you never PvP. It depends on what you want to do, and you can kind of get whatever experience you want out of it so far. With all that out of the way, let's go through kind of some bullet points of what I think the game does really well and what I think the game definitely needs work on. So first of all, with the pros, the map is gorgeous. It's just looks great, and it's really cool to be playing a game like this with some modern technology in a modern engine, Unreal Engine 5, as opposed to some of these older engines. I personally got exactly what I wanted out of the persistent world and the persistent map, being able to hop back into the action after I die, or just get right back into the world at the base as soon as I die. It is shocking how fast it is to even load into a server when you first boot up the game, or how quickly you load back to the safe house when you die. You really do spend all of your time playing this game, actually playing this game, which is really refreshing. I know it's a real dividing line knowing that you can get back to your body and get all your gear back. Some people love it, some people don't. But a thing to remember is that the proximity to fights plays a huge part here. This is not Rust. You can't put sleeping bags down and then just like have a spawn point near a fight. You are going to spawn back at your base. So if you ran several kilometers up towards another faction's base to get into some PvP and you die, it's going to take you, 30, 45 seconds to call in a helicopter and maybe 3 or 4 minutes to fly up to that place. Then you have to land it in LZ, run to where your body was. It is going to be brutal getting back to your body if you are far away from your base. And that can also kind of give you a home field advantage. If you have some people that have pushed down towards your base and are just kind of bullying you, once you kill those guys, it's going to take them way longer to get back, as opposed to when you die at that town right out of your base, you're back in 1 minute or less. So it's an interesting system for sure. The helicopter system in the game is sick. I think it's perfect. There are no vehicles in the game, but you can use the helis to get around. It incentivizes exploration because as you move around the map, you find more like landing zones to pick. So the more you run around, the more you can then traverse with the helicopter. It's also nice because it's not like a fast travel. A, if you go up to the other side of the map, it's going to be a several minute helicopter ride. But B, the heli landing zones are never like exactly where you want them to be. They're always kind of off the beaten path. So it gets you close, but it's not like a fast travel location where you hop off the heli and now you're in the good loot. You then have to traverse a little bit. So I think it's balanced really well and I like it a lot. I personally like the persistent stash and the safe zone. I've always wanted a game like this, like a Daisy or a Rust, but my base isn't raidable. You can't come take my stuff. I like the progression that the traders offer, and I like that there's kind of a safe zone on the map. For me, performance was really good. Now, I have a 4090, I have a crazy, PC, but that's the only thing I have to judge because I just don't have another PC to judge it on. But for me, DLSS, I think, was automatically on. I'm not really techie into that kind of stuff. I don't know how all that works. I just left the setting stock and I had 180 frames the whole time. You might not get that, but I didn't really talk to anybody that said performance was bad. So performance has been good so far. And the last thing is the map, the actual map that you pull up, and being able to see friendlies and faction homies is kind of cool. So anybody in your faction that's on the map, you're going to be able to see them with a blue dot. Anyone in your squad is going to be a green dot. And it's really nice to know. You can kind of check if you hear shots in the distance, you can check your map and see if that's friendlies in the distance or if that's an enemy. And it actually can create some really cool stuff. We were working up to a high tier loot location. We saw on the map that some of our faction friendlies were up there, and I was worried about a team kill situation because everybody's on edge about PvP. So I opened the map, I clicked on his name, I sent him a message in game saying, hey, we're moving up from the south side, we're friendly, please don't kill us. He responded, yo, we just killed a bunch of people, there's too much loot for us to take, meet up. We met up with them and we hung out with them for like 45 minutes, roaming around the map, pushing PvP and stuff like that. It was a really cool kind of like emergent experience. Now, all that being said, the game is far from perfect and definitely has me concerned on a few things. So let's talk about the cons. One, the game and the movement definitely feels a little clunky at times. Some of the movement feels good and feels grounded, but then some of it just feels super wonky. The third person running animation looks like you have to go to the bathroom. Leaning, if you lean, it slows your movement speed super far down, so it's like really hard to get a quick lean around a corner. Jumping kind of feels like it's at zero gravity. It's almost there, but it definitely needs some work. The AI is crazy inconsistent. Sometimes you can just drop them with 1 or 2 shots. Sometimes they take full magazines from multiple people. And I'm not talking about the high tier AI, some of just like the low tier ones in the villages. The inconsistency there is pretty brutal. I did have one of the community managers come in and say that they think it might be related to how long a server has been live. So it's good that they're at least looking into it, but especially with how quickly you can die and how much time maybe you took to get to a particular area on the map, that can feel pretty brutal. The medical system in the game is really cool, but it is confusing, and often I die so fast that I don't even get to engage with it. I like that they have the little like body thing and that they tell you what injuries you have and it kind of shows you what's wrong with you, but it doesn't tell you what you need to do, what item you need to use to fix each of those wounds, and it doesn't tell you what order to do them in. And so you can just spend a lot of time fiddling around, especially since some of the medical animations are really, really long. Maybe it's just a thing you have to learn. Like in Tarkov, you just kind of have to know what all the things do. But right now, it just feels clunky and it can feel weird to be hurt in a battle and just have no idea what you need to do to fix it. I do love that you can heal your teammates though and bring them back from like the unconscious state. I do think that's pretty cool. But once again, I feel like I'm dying so fast that I'm just missing this whole medical system in its entirety. I know games like this like low time to kills, especially with PMCs, but the combination of a normal dude in a village taking 30, 40, 50, 5, 5, 6 rounds to drop, and then me just falling over dead in one shot, it just feels weird, and I feel like that balance needs to kind of come in line. If they want time to kill to be short, then let it be short for everybody, especially the unarmored villagers that I'm shooting at. If we want it to be long, then maybe make it a little bit longer for the PMCs as well. Additionally, to me, it feels like there is not enough loot in the game, and this is one of the things I'm worried about for kind of like the longevity of the game. Now, there definitely is loot in the game. We got some keys, we went to some high tier loot locations, and it was sick, but the world feels empty. Roaming around, if you see a village and you go up there, all you're gonna find is food and water. There isn't really anything in the game so far that has the purpose of finding it to sell it. It's just food, water, and gear. And at first, I would have thought that's a good thing to kind of streamline the experience, and you don't have hundreds and hundreds of items that you have to like Google, are they valuable? But the flip side of that I didn't really, consider maybe, is that the world just feels empty, and it's just going to all concentrate on a few places on the map where there's gear. Since there's food and water everywhere, you never really need to go looting for it. Now, we still don't yet know what's going to happen in the middle of the map with Ground Zero and the irradiated zones and the anomalies. We hear all these whispers of this stuff, but we don't know because I don't think that that's in the early access build yet. But once again, judging it right now, it just doesn't seem like there's enough reason to go around and explore when it comes to loot. It's just find the LZs and then hop into the high tier loot locations. Another thing I really don't like is the faction system, and I don't not like it. I think there's a lot of really cool things and a lot of potential they can do with this 3-faction system and like different quest lines and a lot of really cool stuff. However, the big sticking point for me is if I message my friend on Discord and say, yo, what faction did you pick? And he picked a different one than me, we cannot play together the whole wipe. I don't know if whatever 6 months or whatever, I just can't play this game with that friend. You can't group up in game with somebody that's not in your faction. Now, you could try to get into the same server, plot a point on the map, meet your homie there, and then go from there. But you're not going to have map marker for him. He's not going to have one for you. If you run into other PMCs, they might want to kill him, but not you. If they're friendly to you, but not him, it's going to be confusing. And then if you guys die, it's going to be 5, 10, 15 minutes to link up again because you're going to spawn on complete opposite sides of the map. So you could do it, but it would just be annoying. And I don't think it would be a terrible idea to just, if you meet up with somebody in game, you can then add them to your party, and maybe you're like a different color party, an orange party, that like a cross faction party. But I would just love to be able to play the game with more friends. I don't think that dividing people up like that is going to be good long term, but we'll see. A few other things really quickly. The UI definitely needs some quality of life stuff. I think splitting the map button, the full big map button, and the like inventory button to different buttons would be huge. Every time I hit tab, if I'm trying to go into my character, it's always up on the map, and then vice versa. If I'm trying to check my map really quick and I hit tab, it's going to be up on my character. I'm just always on the opposite one that I need. Also, the UI when looting bodies kind of feels a little clunky at times. You can tell it's very Tarkov inspired, but it doesn't feel quite as fluid. All the containers are kind of shoved off to the right on your enemy, and you can't like click to search them. You have to open them, but there's no search animation. So if you're not going to make me search them, why not just display what's in the backpack right there? I don't know. That could definitely use some work. And then the last thing is that the terrain and traversal can get a little bit weird. There were times where I was walking kind of on a slope, but it was letting me walk on it. And then all of a sudden, boom, I slip, I fall all the way down the mountain, and I died, and I had to, kind of find my way back to my body. Those are kind of the first days worth of pros and cons that I can think of right now. I'm sure there are more. I didn't want this video to get too long-winded, but let me know if there are things you liked that I missed or disliked that I missed. The game is definitely in a weird spot because it's not a survival game, meaning you don't have that motivation to search everything, looking for pants or boots or armor or a gun or magazine or ammo. You're always going to have that stuff when you leave your safe zone. And because it's not a survival game, you don't really care as much when you die because you can go back and gear back up with your stuff. So that means that the quests, engaging with the PvE and the PvP really need to carry the experience, and we just haven't seen how it's going to do that yet. I'm going to try and work through more of the quests to see how deep that goes, but overall, for an early access game, it has really performed well with minimal crashes or game-breaking bugs, and it is always hard to balance the potential of a game with what is offered right now. Ultimately, I am excited to hop back in for more and to see how the game progresses, and I'll probably circle back to do a more thorough review towards the end of the playtest. There is currently no word on exactly when public early access is going to launch or the price of the game, but I will definitely keep you posted. But I want to know what you think. Have you watched some streamers or some YouTube videos? What do you think about the game so far? It's kind of nice that they don't have pre-orders up yet because we can all form our opinions of the game, but let me know down in the comments below if you like it. If you're interested in purchasing it, you can wishlist it now on Steam if you would like. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out this video. If you like it, think about dropping a like or a comment down below, or maybe even subbing to the channel for more content like this. I'll be live with Grayzone all week long. My links will be down below if you want to come by and say hey. Thank you again for stopping by, and I will definitely see y'all on the next one.